So I wanted to try out exercising with a mace. And there are a lot of different maces on the market, but this Rogue mace seemed to be the best one. But it's over $200, and I'm cheap, so I thought I'd just make my own. In order to do this, I need those collars on the end of the barbells, and so I tracked down the cheapest barbell I could find, which, in case you didn't know, is from Walmart. They sell this barbell shipped to you for $20. And in my research and doing this, I found out that there's different quality levels on barbells, and a lot of the differentiation has to do with the spinning mechanism, what allows those collars on the end to spin. The good ones have bearings of some kind in there. This $19 one, did not. It had nothing. It's just metal on metal in there. So this would not be a good choice for heavy use. And my hope is that I can take the collar off and just turn it around and then reattach it. That's my basic premise here. But it turns out on this one that it's not going to be that easy. I'm going to do some modifications here. Luckily, I know how to weld. There's nothing in there. There's no bearings, no nothing. It's just straight steel metal. No brass bushing, no roller bearing, nothing. So, the question is, can this be turned around, put on this way? That's what we wanted. Alright, so this is really simple, really basic here. This is just a solid rod here, and they've sort of beveled out the end here and drilled and tapped the end so that a simple bolt goes on the end like so. And then this is just a hollow piece of steel, basically. And they've got, on the one end, it's got a little raised up area there, which I'm going to drill that out so that this whole thing will slide on this tube. So I've got it chucked up in the vise here. I'm going to actually use a die grinder and just grind out the end here. This is my die grinder with my little bit on the end. So chew this up, hopefully. Alright, so after a good bit of grinding, we've now got this guy here so that it will fit on backwards. Slide on there, but the problem is it will just keep going. There's nothing on this end to stop it. There was a little raised part before. So our next option, if we want to maintain the ability to spin it, one option, a simple option, is just to put a big washer on the bottom here and a nut. Got these two big washers. They will fit on around here pretty perfectly. Sanding that off for welding. Then we've got some spacers here. This is going to be like a collar. I'm going to weld that in there like that. And first, this guy's going up in here. And then we'll get this guy on. So now I've got this fully welded on there. But yeah, there's lots of slop in there, which is fine. Yeah, now this will spin freely in there, no problem. Now we've got a functional thing. Now we just basically need to cut it to length. All right, so the Rogue one is 45 inches long. So that puts me down here. And to do the end of it, this is the very end here of our mace. And I want something so that when you're putting your hand on here, you've got some sort of feel to the end of it, so you know instinctively that that's the end. I'm just going to use some washers like this, and we'll put a washer on the end. I'm going to stack 2 of these together and weld all this stuff together and weld it on the end here, and that will give just a little bit of a rise. That'll give just a little bit of a rise to the end of this thing. All right, and there we are. That's just plug welded on there, that gap that used to be, I just filled in the donut basically on the top there. I'm gonna make a second one basically, and I'm gonna do a lighter weight one by, instead of having a completely solid rod, we're gonna do some hollow tube here. So the way I'm gonna do that, similar thing where I've hollowed out this guy here, modified this so that this guy will fit all the way through, and I am using this piece of solid rod on the very bottom, but this allows me to, this just makes it way simpler to use the same existing rod, because then we have the same end on it here. We can do the same sort of thing where we make a little cap to go on the end, and we'll do another, and we'll do this as well over here. We'll make the little, we'll make a little stopper point collar thing here, and it'll allow this thing to free spin just like the other one. But then on the end of it, I'm going to weld on this extension like so. But then when we're done, we'll have 2 All right, the last thing I got to do is final assembly here, and I'm going to use some Loctite on the nut here, on this bolt on the end, and so here we go. Very simple, very simple device. One of my washers here, my custom-made super heavy-duty washer. Stick that one on there. Stick another little washer on top, and then we'll put some Loctite on this bolt. Let's snug that down. And then that's it. Paint is dry, so final assembly on this guy. There it is. All right, so here are the 2 maces side by side. I mean, they're similar dimensionally. One has got the knurling on it, of course, and one does not. One is lighter, and one is heavier. But yeah, I'm gonna try these out. They both got free-floating collars on here, so they both will spin freely. I have a feeling that this is going to be the preferred one because the balance and everything on this is much nicer. It's not nearly as heavy as this other one. This thing, oh man, I need to see if I have a scale. So our first one, this is the heavy one. This is the solid rod one. Yeah, so the heavy one is about 16 pounds. And then the light one is 10, just a tad over 10, but it's about 10 pounds. Yeah, so now I can just load the plates straight on the top like this. Down onto the bottom. And then I've got a little clampy thing. Load that on the same way. lock that on there, and then that should be nice and tight, huh? And these are just the standard Olympic plates that fit the 2-inch collar here. Now I've just got to figure out how to use this thing. It's going to take a little bit of practice.